So when I first started the hobby, I looked into a lot of different frames, how they were designed, and weight didn't really play much into it. I knew from the start that it kind of made sense to have a vertical arm setup, but unfortunately it didn't look like there were a lot of frames which offered that setup without being massively complicated and expensive as well. So I headed onto the UAV Features YouTube channel as I started following them, and I came across the Karearea Talon review. I felt that the vertical arms made more sense to create more thrust and for coefficients, etc, etc. So for me it was a no-brainer. You know, some people sort of take notice of the price, but for a product that I consider high quality, you could almost say premium if you want, I think it's a decent, it's worth paying the price. Dongyan Ryu has a background in design already, which probably gave him an advantage into sort of like a fresh pair of eyes when it came to designing this frame. It seems to me like he's taken quite a lot of interest in developing new techniques and using materials which are high quality rather than just plain, you know, same old carbon, 3 or 4 mil carbon from China. So let's talk about the carbon. The carbon's actually Toray T700 series. It's strong from what I can tell. The times I've crashed the drone and I thought I've probably snapped an arm. Actually, the only problem that's turned out is a small blemish in the carbon here where it's slightly delaminated, and that's only happened because the drone fell into the mud at this angle and it came to a stop on a stone. Other than that, there's no damage whatsoever. The design of it is quite clever. I think there's some elements of this frame that you don't necessarily pick up initially, because a lot of people look at the weight rather than the actual function of the frame. One point that I learned by looking at the support section of Kareera's website was the fact that these mounts were specifically designed to draw heat away from the motors. So in a racing environment, you'd spend a considerable amount of time in the higher end of your throttle. These aluminium motor mounts are actually designed to draw away heat from the motor, allowing it to run and not let it bog down with heat. So they're acting as basically heat dissipators, which is really clever, I think. I certainly found that when flying they did not get hot. They came down lukewarm. I didn't have any problems with overheating. You get good protection for the camera because of, obviously, if you're flying at this angle, as you can see I'm flying at quite a steep angle. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm running an Eagle Pro 2 and it's protruding a bit here, but actually it's okay. If it hits here, it's going to bounce off whatever it's hit. Which brings me to my next point about the Talon frame. It's an extremely well built frame. You can see that the amount of time has gone in designing this, and all the little details that I've gone into, you know, making the arms, making the alloy parts, making the motor mounts. They're just beautifully crafted and beautifully designed. You could see that, you know, the tolerances are so tight that sometimes when I was building it for the first build, I was thinking, is it actually going to go together? All the tolerances are very tight, and you know, it's a solid frame. There's no flex, there's no wobbliness, and it's extremely well designed. The frame weighs 99 grams, plus or minus 1 or 2 grams. I think the one with the taller side plates actually weighs a little bit more, but whatever. I'd say that if you're considering buying this, it's certainly not an entry-level frame, but saying that, it's so tough and so versatile. I think that someone with, you know, little to no experience in racing or freestyle, because you can use it as a freestyle frame as well if you want to, would easily grow into this. And I'd recommend it to anybody asking me, you know, what would you recommend to start out on? I'd say, yeah, if you like the look of the Karearea, go for it. It's up to you. I personally chose this because I didn't want to go through the sort of the motions of getting a cheaper frame, smashing it up, getting a better frame, smashing it up. I saw this and I wanted it because I knew that it was possibly quite, because of the design, it was going to be superior to anything else I'd seen in the market at that point. A lot of people worry about the weight, but I think that the extra, 40 grams or whatever it is, compared to most, market race frames, is offset by the fact that you get so much more efficiency and thrust because the arms are so thin. Look at that profile. It's just incredible. And it was pointed out to me that actually, although this frame is quite a lot heavier than some other ones, it was still faster in a straight line, I'd say, than some others. So what have I got left to say? I think the website is a very useful source of information. You've got the build instructions on there, and they're very detailed and very clear, so you can't get it wrong. The support page is very useful because it teaches you some things which you may have not necessarily known about the frame, some design features, like I said, about the flat arms, the wind tunnel testing, because this was also wind tunnel tested. So I suggest you watch that video and see how it compares against a frame with flat arms, and also the heat dissipation of the motor mounts. That's quite important. Would I buy another one? Yes. I'm in two minds whether to build a super light build or to buy another Talon and build it as a race flight configuration, just to test out what the Kalman filters are like. But yeah, I think it's definitely a contender, and it's a very, very nicely designed frame. Like I said, there's things you can do to lighten it up, like I'm running a full-size camera. You can buy a micro camera. I've got steel hardware and some aluminium nuts here, but those are going to be replaced soon by titanium bolts. A big thank you to Dongyan Ryu for letting me use the pictures off the website. I appreciate that, and I hope that this review, I guess, helps, or the frame review helps people make their mind up as to what they want. I certainly recommend it to anyone starting out or specifically looking for a frame to race with. So yeah, a couple of things that maybe I want to point out that I'd like to see maybe improved in a newer version of this frame, or if there are any new frames coming out, is the weight, I'd say. So if there's any way that the weight can be dropped, then I think maybe that's something that can be looked at. Maybe replacing the steel hardware with titanium hardware, or some of the aluminium parts with titanium, but of course that's dependent on cost, because you don't want to put yourself out of the market by making a frame extremely expensive just to save on 30-40 grams when it works perfectly well as it is. Some of the other aspects, maybe, I don't know, to be honest, I can't pick faults with it because I don't think there are any. I think the weight is the only thing, but again, it's not a problem really, because it's been proven that it flies just as fast as a drone that weighs in the 250 to 300 gram mark. So if not faster. I just want to see. I wish I could see more people racing these, to prove the point that Karearea is a great company and they're making great frames. I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed the review, and if you have anything else, any questions about the frame, then feel free to ask me.